Now, what do we do next? A businessman from Droitwich has been forced to pay his ex-partner £28,000 despite them not being married or having any children together. 55-year-old David Southwell, 54-year-old Catherine Blackburn were together for 10 years and lived in a house under his name alone. The decision by a Court of Appeal judge today is being called landmark ruling for unmarried couples. Andy Caldicott, head of family law at Harrison Clark Rickaby's, working in Ross and Wye, is here now. Hi, Andy.
Hello, Andrew.
Wow, this is going to make a few people think about their own relationships, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is, to be honest. I'm old enough, Andrew, to remember the days when it was called living in sin. But of course, these days it's far more popular for people to live together than marry.
Well, it's something that is almost promoted, but that's a different debate. The point is, how long do you have to live with someone for it to apply in these legal situations that when you split up, that you'll owe some money? How long? What is the time scale?
There is no time scale. There are many old wives' tales about the subject, and one of them is if you live together for a certain period of time, you acquire rights. But that's not true, and nothing in this case changes that. But the law is in a bit of a mess at the moment, it's fair to say. If you are married or in a civil partnership, there's lots of up-to-date law, and the courts have got lots of wide-ranging powers and discretion to help people. But if you live together, there is no up-to-date law really on the subject, and it's all based on old property rights. And although this case is described as groundbreaking, in fact they're using a really old legal concept to justify a payment being made.
Which is?
It's called promissory estoppel, which is a bit of a mouthful. Simply put, it's if you make somebody a promise and they act on that promise to their own detriment, then you can be ordered to compensate them, and that's effectively what's happened here.
And what promise did this guy make to the woman?
Well, basically that he would keep a roof over her head, and she left secure rented accommodation to move in with him, and thus sought compensation when he ended the relationship and wanted her to leave. I think that the message I'd want to give to all listeners is it's a legal minefield, and I know it's difficult because when you are planning to move in with somebody, it's an exciting time and it's not really very romantic to start talking about sorting out our legal rights about what would happen if we split. But the best way to protect yourself always and to save yourself a fortune in legal fees and all the hassle that court proceedings bring is to make a very clear agreement, written agreement, normally with the help of a lawyer, at modest cost to start with, as to what would happen if you did split.
A prenup, you mean?
It's a sort of prenup. We call it a living together agreement.
Well, how sad. Wow.
It is. It does take the romance out.
Well, it does, because you say before we get our feet under the table, before we have all the joyful things that certainly the honeymoon period of a new relationship brings, I want you to sign this form so you don't take all my stuff when we split up. That's not very romantic at all.
It's not, although you can, to the contrary, you can use it in a way to protect each other. Normally, most people will bring something to the relationship. One party may be bringing more money in than the other. At least they can both protect that. They can also then clearly state what would happen in the event they split. Sometimes they're more generous than that. But
and how did she? I'm really fascinated with this. I'm actually taking notes. How did she prove that he promised to put a roof over her head?
Well, simply by giving evidence and the court believing her. There was nothing in writing. So it was very much based on the judge listening to both parties and coming to a decision. And therefore, this case doesn't necessarily set a precedent as such. Every future case would still be decided on its own facts.
Thank you. Really interesting. Andy Caldicott, head of family law at Harrison Clark Rickaby's, who have, they have branches all over the two counties, don't they? Since they all joined together.